And we actually are doing this video because of truck drivers who wrote on our page and said, please do this. So we read them, we take them very seriously.
But I'm getting too nice with this. Ain't no way that I'm going outside. My pockets been heavy as shit.
What's poppin', M2T? It's your boy Run on the channel to be. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, share, and subscribe button whenever you pull up to the channel. And while you at it, hit that post notification button for your boy. So whenever I drop, you can hop up in the truck and roll with me. See what's poppin'. How's it going, fam? We had another week. We finna get it done like we always do. We ain't gonna do no complaining. Cause guess what? Truckers are the backbone of the economy. Alright, without any further ado, we gonna get on into the story. The day of reckoning has finally came. The Senate, the House, they ain't even been in position for a good 2 months. And they already putting in bills to see about those that has concealed licenses being able to carry nationwide, and even those that don't have concealed licenses is able to carry nationwide. Man, this is something that we have been waiting on for years and years. Now, I will say this. In the previous administrations, they have tried to get this bill that's called HR 38 passed through Congress. But as we know, it's always either a Democratic House of Representation or a Republican House of Representation and a Democratic Senate or a Republican Senate. It's always either or. It's been a while since there's been senators and representatives and the president to be all under one branch. Now is the time. And they didn't waste no time with representing that HR 38. They turned it down when it was previously presented. But this time they presented it again. And Trump has already said, if the Congress approve of it, I'm already ready to sign it. What are you talking about, M2T? HR 38, carrying nationwide, people with gun concealed hands, CD with gun licenses, and people without. What is you talking about, brother? What I'm talking about? Let's check it out. A nationwide concealed carry reciprocity bill was introduced. It could help truckers to better defend themselves over the road. That's what I'm talking about. That right there. Okay, let's break it down. A North Carolina representative introduced a bill that will provide nationwide reciprocity for concealed carry license holders and for residents of constitutional carry states. That means for those that have concealed handgun licenses, right? And for those that's part of states, all right? That is to be considered a constitutional carry state, meaning permitless state. These states like Texas, like Florida, you ain't gotta have no permit. All you gotta do is own a firearm. You go buy your firearm, you can carry and protect yourself. That's what this is talking about. This bill has been put into place for permitless carriers and permit carriers. Let's check it out. The Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, HR 38, was introduced by U.S. Representative Richard Hudson on January the 9th. This is just last week. Hudson says that HR 38 would allow people with state-issued concealed carry license or permits to conceal a handgun and in any other state. The bill also, that's the key word, the bill also allows residents of constitutional carry states to carry in other states. That's what I'm talking about. Our Second Amendment right does not disappear when we cross invisible state lines, and this common sense legislation guarantee that, says Rep. Hudson. The Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act will protect law-abiding citizens' rights to conceal carry and travel freely between states without worrying about conflicting state codes or onerous civil suits. I am proud to see such strong and widespread support, and I will not stop fighting to get this legislation signed into law. H.R. 38 is endorsed by the NRA, Institute for Legislation Act, Gun Owners of America, the U.S. Concealed Carry Association, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation. President-elect Trump is expected to sign the bill into law if it is approved by Congress. For the trucking community, that's us, y'all. H.R. 38 will make it easier for drivers to conceal carry a firearm across state lines for personal protection while operating over the road. No law prohibits. Y'all hear that? Let me say that again. No law prohibits truck drivers from carrying guns by many carriers, but many carriers do not allow it, and most U.S. military bases prohibit it. So they saying that there is no law that permits us from carrying. However, the carrier, meaning the company, and also there are some military bases that will prohibit it. That's the issue. People always talking about, well, it's law. You can't carry it. You can't carry it. The man just said, the representative just said, there's no law that permits you from being able to carry. The obstacle is the company and some military bases. The current complicated network of state concealed carry reciprocity laws can make it tough for truckers who operate interstate to legally carry a weapon for self-defense. Earlier this month, in a lawsuit filed on behalf of a pair of truckers against Minnesota state officials, the suit argues that the state is impeding on the Second Amendment rights of truckers by refusing to honor other states' lawfully issued firearm permits. Come on, man. Come on, man. There it is right there. Now, it's a damn shame. It's okay for us to carry hundreds of thousands of product, millions of dollars of products throughout this country and do our part to make sure that our country is good. But carriers want to oppress us. No, we don't want you carrying with our company. No, we don't want you. But as soon as something happened to a brother or a sister, they ain't gonna do nothing but throw somebody else right up in the damn truck and keep it moving. Damn your safety. Damn your family that's at the house waiting on you. All they give a care about is, oh, we don't want nothing going on with our insurance. Man, insurance ain't finna do nothing. Insurance ain't nothing when it comes to somebody's life, man. And I guarantee you, if you was up in this truck owner, carrier owner, trucking company owner, if you was up in that boy driving it, I know damn well you carrying. You can't pay me believe anything different. But you go deprive the next man or woman of being able to protect themselves because of your damn insurance. Come on, man, make it make sense. Now, I know we got knuckleheads out here that end up having a firearm or something in their possession, and they go crazy out here and just be itching to do something. I ain't naive of that, M2T. We all know that. However, that's a minority of a majority. The majority of truck drivers are responsible. We are logical people. We are responsible people. We are people that take consideration of our families, of our loved ones, of our livelihood, of our jobs, of our bag. So we ain't out here just doing stupid stuff to mess off what it is we got going on, the majority of us. So we ain't gonna let a few bad apples mess it up for all the rest of us. Now, we're not gonna play them kind of games today. We're not gonna do that. And I'm so glad that Republican Hudson presented this bill, and all the other reps that presented this bill to Congress, because now that it's an all Republican Congress, we have a very high percentage chance of getting this bill passed. And like I just read, y'all just seen it, Donald Trump is already ready to sign the bill. He just waiting on them to do their part. So truckers, it's looking good, fam. We got a little daylight. We got a little hope, man. I think about David White. What if he would have had a firearm with him? maybe he can be still here with us today. I think about Javion McGee, the young brother they found up in North Carolina that was, lynched from the tree and stuff. What if he would have had a firearm on him? He could have been still here. There's a lot of stories we cover where truck drivers then been victimized and is no longer here to talk about it because they didn't have no protection on them. So, the day of reckoning has arrived. And to even help me explain this more, I want you to check out the armed attorneys. They finna break it all the way down to you. Check it out.
These trucks are carrying tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cargo. And that brings us to the meat and potatoes of our discussion, which is, what is the federal law when it comes to commercial truck drivers keeping a personal defense firearm in their vehicle? Now, I think a lot of people are surprised to hear that there isn't a federal law. And this is, a good time to refresh that. The law doesn't tell us what we're allowed to do. It tells us what we can't do. And so when people say, hey, where's the law saying, as a truck driver that I can carry, there's nothing to point them to. But that brings us to what law is going to govern in that regard, and that's state law, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, in the absence of any federal law regarding, truck drivers carrying personal defense firearms. And there are some regulations out there regarding the commercial transport of explosives, firearms.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about your personal defense weapon. In the absence of any federal law, you have to rely on the states. And every state is going to vary. My recommendation to truck drivers is generally get as many carry permits as you possibly can. Get your home state carry permit, get your non-resident permits that are going to open up some other states to you that you have to travel through. That's the easiest way to make sure that you're obeying state law, but you have to check every state you're going to go through, and potentially you have to either invoke federal law or, if that unfriendly state is your destination state, you may not be able to take that firearm on your trip in its entirety.
Exactly right. So we have our states that maybe they don't require a license or permit, or they recognize a license or permit that's issued to you. And that makes it pretty easy, saying, hey, maybe I'll be allowed to carry in this state. And then it's compounded, I'm going to raise the issue, and then we don't have a great answer for you. But a lot of folks, have to sleep in their cab. Mm-hmm. They're over-the-road truck drivers, and so there's this additional compound consideration of, hey, when this vehicle is being used as my habitation, do I get extra protections under self-defense law? Again, it varies by state, but there's a lot of states that would say, hey, if you're using it as your house, your habitation, or your dwelling, you may get extra protections.
Yeah, but it really does vary by state, and that is something that you need to be, I think, incredibly cautious with.
Yes, and I think that's the overarching theme is, ignorance of the law is not an excuse, and you have to know the law of the state that you're traveling to. But that brings up an issue that comes up frequently, which is federal property. Let's say military installations.
Sure, military installations. And again, it puts a lot of onus on truck drivers to have to do a whole bunch of legwork to make sure that they are safe. Because not only are you checking your state law, state to state, but if you are going to hit federal property, if you're going to hit a military installation, you need to see if they're going to let you check that firearm in at the gates, because it's not going to be allowed on the military installation. And some will let you check it in and some will not. And you just have to call ahead of time and see what their policy is.
It's the base commander's discretion as to whether or not they want to allow firearms on property. And a lot of military installations choose not to. I think that also brings us to federal property generally. The general rule is firearms aren't allowed on federal property. And then that brings up kind of port authorities. We don't have a federal port authority, but a lot of people kind of mix those two things together. That's going back to our states. Our federal ports are controlled by state and local authorities. And so what we see, though, a lot of these ports are in big cities. So we got Houston, New York, we got San Diego, they got a port, right? Louisiana. So we got some large ports. But what we see in most of these ports is that they do have a no weapons, no firearms, no guns policy. And so they have that discretion to exclude those just like any other private property owner would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now we have one more consideration for truck drivers. I'm sorry, guys. And that's your employer. Now, your employer cannot make it a crime for you to carry where it was not already a crime in that state. But they can discipline you or terminate you. And, I think we have a video on that as well. You can check out the description and watch that as well, because your employer does have a lot of power.
And that brings us to our attorney pro tip of the day, which is about the safe passage provision of 18 U.S.C. 926A. And that brings it, if you have to pass through one of these gun hostile states, a state that doesn't recognize your license or permit, or maybe they don't allow a loaded concealed handgun at all when you're passing through that state. And generally, When we say gun hostile, we're talking about the West Coast, the state of Illinois, and the Northeast, minus Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And to give credit to those guys. But what it breaks down to essentially is 3 key components. That the firearm is unloaded, in case, locked up, or inaccessible, that you are traveling, and that when you start your destination, it's in a legal place where you're allowed to possess a firearm, and when you end your destination, you're in a place that you're allowed to possess the firearm. And this question came up a lot. What if we had someone who's driving from Florida, let's say, to Maine? Do they have to, go sleep deprived through the Northeast? Could you resolve that?
Yeah. Yes, sure. Let's say that you stop and spend the night in Pennsylvania. That's a good, safe place generally, right? So that means that from Pennsylvania to Maine, when you start your trip again, Pennsylvania is your new starting destination. You're legal there, so that's okay. You get to go through some potentially unhostile states if you have to. It really does make your life a little bit easier, but it is when you cease traveling, that is your new destination or end point. And that's the other thing we have to talk about is traveling is not defined by statute and not well defined by case law, and you cannot count on the courts giving you the benefit of the doubt. No. So, I mean, we say, and the most conservative legal advice to give you is, if you stop moving, other than maybe a restroom break or, to get gas, you have probably ceased traveling, and where you are is your new destination. So make sure where you cease traveling is not a gun-unfriendly state.
And keep in mind also, in these unfriendly states, a lot of them treat this Firearms Owners Protection Act, this safe passage provision, as a defense to prosecution. So it doesn't keep you from, getting charged with a gun crime, dragged into court, and having to prove that you meet all these qualifications. So it can be very perilous. And so if your end destination was in a gun hostile state, well, then you're not going to qualify. If it's a friendly state where you'd be allowed to lawfully possess the firearm, maybe, so long as you meet all those qualifications. But it could, at the end of the day, still be a defense to prosecution.
That is. They explained it very, very well and very, very nicely. Now, some of us is Class C. I ain't about the little yellow school bus, but I'm Class C, man. I wasn't up in Valley Victoria and Sectorial and Cutorials and all them Torians that graduated top notch. That wasn't me. I'm Class C. I ain't at the top, I ain't at the middle, I'm right at the bottom, and I ain't at the F or D, I'm right down, I'm barely over the land. So I need a little bit more explanation. I need a little bit more thing to be broke down simplistic, and I think the arm attorneys did a great job at breaking it down for us. Alright? So, get in the comments and let me know what y'all think about them passing this bill. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing for us? My opinion is good, but they're just me, to each his own. Get in there and let me know what you think about this. Let me know if we on the right track. And get in there and let me know. Alright? Big shout out to my A1 Day Ones. Big shout out to the one that just be glancing in to see what's popping. And a special shout out to my new subscribers. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support, fam. And y'all already know, until next time, it's your boy.
I just got in a whole brand new bag. I'm running around.